Are you brand new to Magic the Gathering Arena and not sure where to start? This guide should hopefully help you kind of get the bearings of Magic the Gathering Arena and help to build a better deck so that you understand the meta a little bit more. Welcome on in, Dragonfolk. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I know I am a little bit tired, but, that comes with making all of the work happen. So today I wanted to bring you guys a little bit of the beginner side of things. I know I wanted to make a lot of content in regards to making beginner content, right? I want people to be able to come here and go, oh, this video is going to help me kind of better myself as a duelist while playing Magic the Gathering. So with Arena, which is where I suggest most people start, if they don't have a friend group that's willing to teach them. If they don't have a friend group that's willing to teach them, and they don't have an LGS that they're willing to go to every other day and play with people there at the LGS and learn from them, this is the best way to learn on your own time. Because a lot of the times with Magic the Gathering, it's hard to find people to play with. That tends to be the hardest part for me, specifically. But Arena allows me to play Magic the Gathering without having to worry. For instance, there is a format in Magic the Gathering called Standard. Just about every LGS, or local game store, that is near me does not do Standard events anymore. They're all Pioneer, or they're Modern, or some form of limited format, and I really enjoyed Standard. And so the fact that I can't join a Standard tournament near me is kind of unfortunate. But with Magic the Gathering Arena, Standard is probably one of the most played formats next to Explorer, and I guess Historic also sometimes gets a little bit, but a lot of people are mad about Alchemy and whatever. We'll go over that in a different thing. But mainly, I wanted to go over what it's going to look like for you as a beginner, for starting out into Magic the Gathering Arena, and what you're going to look forward to in the future. So, obviously, when you first get into Magic the Gathering Arena, you are going to have a tutorial, right? I would hope that everybody pays attention to this tutorial. If you are new to Arena, but not new to Magic the Gathering, the tutorial is mainly just for UI stuff. You'll pretty much know exactly what's going on. And during the tutorial, you're going to learn a lot about the card types and how to block and how to attack, and making sure to go over planeswalkers and life totals and keywords and so on and so forth. And it's going to give you a better understanding of kind of a general idea of Magic the Gathering. But after that, after the whole entire tutorial, you're going to be moving on to the color challenges. So for me, the color challenges are located here. If you hit play, and then in all, you have the color challenge section here. Now, I believe it's going to be different for everybody. There's probably going to be a quest icon for a lot of you new players who are looking to get these things. But essentially what this is here is a color challenge where you play a deck, this deck here specifically, and you go against 4 planeswalkers of the other colors. So, of course, Magic the Gathering is white, blue, black, red, and green. So if you are playing blue in the Jace Beleren color challenge, you will be going against Liliana, Vivian, Ajani, Chandra, and then another player. So this other player, luckily, you're not going to be having to do a lot in regards to this. Magic the Gathering Arena is pretty good about matching you up to another player of kind of equal, deck level. So because you're going to be using these beginner decks, and you're going to be going into an alchemy format, which is not really great, but playing through the alchemy format is going to be a temporary thing. You're going to just have to deal with alchemy for a little bit, and then you'll move on to Standard once you start unlocking the other decks. But Once you complete these, I suggest, of course, completing every one of them. Get every one of these decks in every color, and you will see them down here in the starter deck section of your deck tab. So, of course, I am making this video in late 2022. So, if any of this UI changes by the time you guys watch this, there should be a pretty good indicator of where these things are located. So, again, you had Aerial Domination, Cold-Blooded Killers, Goblins Everywhere, Keep the Peace, and Large and in Charge. Those are the 5 color challenge decks. So, after you get these decks, you're going to kind of want to open them up, right? You should do this before you actually do the color challenges, but you're going to want to open them up, you're going to want to view them, and you're going to want to see the cards inside. So, look over each card and look over all of the keyword text that pops up, all these tooltips, essentially. And these tooltips will help you kind of give an idea of what the deck does. So, for instance, this deck focuses a lot around flyers. So, this card costs less to cast when you have creature with flying. This gives creatures with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is a flyer creature that gives you a draw card ability. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1. This creature has flying. Windstorm Drake, flying, and other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. So that's a general idea. You're going to want to look over the decks, look over what their concepts are, and then find which one suits you best. So after you've gotten all 5 of the mono-colored color challenge decks, the next thing you're going to look at is to get the dual color decks. So down here in your little quest bar that you have on your homepage, you will see that there will be a quest that will give you a deck, right? That deck will be 2 colors, and you get a new quest every single day. You obviously have to complete 1 quest here to get a deck before moving on to get the next quest. So make sure to at least do them daily. There are 10 decks available, so all you need to do is complete each quest for 10 days, and you will get all 10 of these dual color decks, right? The white-blue, blue-green, white-black, right? So there's a bunch of different combinations of colors. And these are called the guilds, right? These are guild colors or allied and enemy colors, I guess. For this specific scenario, these decks are for a different format. These decks are for the standard format. So if you go to play, and then you go to this middle one here, and you see that you have all this other stuff. Standard play, alchemy play, historic play, explorer play, and bot match, right? For the record, some of those quests, and I'm pretty sure it might actually be all of them, you need to be able to win a match. And you can't use bot matches to win the dual color decks. So make sure that you are in, you probably need to be in alchemy play to play your monocolored decks because they have alchemy cards in them. But once you start getting these 2-colored decks, you can go into standard play. The pool of cards in standard play are significantly less, so there's not as many keywords to keep in mind compared to alchemy and historic and explorer. So it's a great way to kind of start off with standard, and then you can work your way into the other formats as you learn. So you get into standard play, and you're just going to continue to do exactly the same thing that you did with the previous monocolored decks. Is you're going to get them, right? Let's say we'll go into balancing act, right? We'll view the deck, and we'll look at every card inside of the deck, right? So every card inside, you're going to want to look over, see what the whole point is about them, see whether or not it's a play style for you, right? So Orzhov is usually big on like life gain and destruction spells and removal spells. So that's probably where you're looking at with these. Not to mention that if you look at the big cards in this deck, that will kind of help you determine what this what the playstyle is for this deck, right? So when I say the big cards, I mean the rares and the mythics. So this, the gold symbol next to artifact vehicle in the center of that card, the gold symbol means that it is a rare. So Bukutai Soul Ripper is one of the key cards in this set, in this deck specifically. So whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on this card, and it gains menace until the end of turn. And it's a vehicle, so it needs to be crewed. Of course, you'll see there it gives you the tooltip for crew as well. And then you're just going to look for all those cards that have that gold color on them, and they'll help give you a better idea of what the deck does all throughout. Soul Transfer is a good like removal spell. Then you have things like Lysa Forgotten Archangel, which essentially makes it so your opponent exiles their creatures if they die, and if your creatures die, they return back to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Then every deck has one mythic in it. One single mythic. And you just look at the mythic, see what it does, and the mythic is represented by the orange symbol instead of the gold symbol. So look at the card, see what it does, and kind of just see where it looks in between all of this. So again, a lot of this is based around, removal and kind of controlling the board, whereas something like On the Hunt, for instance, the red-green deck, is big on making your creatures really big, and also very much so wolf and werewolf support. So this is a wolf and werewolf deck. These decks are made to be standard legal, right? Standard is the format that I suggested you guys start playing once you get those 2-color decks, the standard play. And what it is a set of 8 sets, right? It's a group of 8 sets. And in September of every year, the first 4 sets get kicked out. And then that makes way for the next 4 sets to be made and put in there as they go through. And then September of the next year, the oldest 4 sets get kicked out. So as you can tell, right, the decks are going to change if these are for standard, right? All these decks are going to change because these are standard legal right now. But in September of next year, these decks will not be legal in standard anymore, or at least when the rotation happens, which I assume is going to be September. But the cool thing is that once you've unlocked all 10 of these decks, you get 10 brand new decks when right near the beginning of the rotation. So no need to worry. All of your cards will still be there. You just won't have these specific decks available to you. But if you go online because you like really, really enjoyed how the deck was, you can go online and you can find the deck list and you can play it in a different format such as Historic or Explorer. Now, my biggest advice to everybody playing is that while you are playing through these 2-colored decks in standard, right? You're trying to find out which one you like the most, figure out your kind of play style. If at any point you want to add cards to it, you can always go ahead and click on it. Let's say Strength in Numbers, right? Let's say you really like Selesnya, which is white-green. You can choose Strength in Numbers, click on it, and then you can hit Clone right here. So when you clone it, there's a separate tab up here called My Decks. This will add one in there for you that says Strength in Numbers 2. This deck is able to be modified. You can go in to edit the deck, and you will see that you can now change the cards in the deck. You can look at every single one of them in a different light. You can go ahead and go to this filter tab up here, and you can go to hit standard, and you can even choose all cards that are not collected, hit OK, and you can look through the pool of green, white, and colorless cards and find the cards that work best for you. So a lot of these decks, these 2-colored decks, have a lot of room to be upgraded. As it is shown, there are a lot of cards in here. There's only one mythic in here, being Halo Fountain, for instance, here. And having one Halo Fountain does nothing. Is it a cool win condition? Sure. But you don't just want one. You can have multiples. Also, you have Adelaine Resplendent Cathar. You're going to want multiple of her as well as Join the Dance, right? Galagreeters is a thing you're going to want more of. So a lot more of these rares and mythics are... There's not enough of them in this deck to make it truly competitive in its sense. So what I suggest doing is you can always go online and look up deck upgrades for the name of that deck. So for instance, if you wanted to go online and search MTG Arena Strength in Numbers upgrade, you can do that. And there are people out there, and I hope to be one of them. I just have not gotten around to making actual like upgrades for them yet. I am still missing quite a few cards in my collection for this standard, so I want to hope to, remedy that in a little bit. There are plenty of creators out there that have their own upgrades to these decks to make them more competitive. Because with these decks alone, you're really not going to be doing too much as far as standard play goes. If you are playing in just standard play, not too big of a deal, right? You're just playing in standard, doing your own thing. There's no rank, there's no anything. You don't lose any kind of, ranking or anything. But if you want to take that deck to the next level and really see how competitive it can be and really test your skills as a duelist, you can go into ranked. And standard ranked is where I would play your upgraded version of your deck. You can also play the base version of your deck as it is right now. Under the starter deck tab, you'll see all of these basic, the dual color challenge decks. You can use these in standard ranked, and some of them are better than others. Some of them do real well on their own. Ignite the Forge seems to be doing pretty fantastic. I don't believe Strength in Numbers is super great, but I have to go through each one and determine that by battling multiple opponents and kind of getting a analysis or a consensus, right? Much like an experiment to find out what deck is viable in what way, right? Normally I test them in standard play, and then if I'm ready to bring it to ranked, I will do that. But standard play is a safe bet. There is no sideboard for these decks. So that is another thing. If you wished to play a best of 3, you would need to get a sideboard for your deck. So sideboarding is a completely different thing. I'll go over that in like deck construction and so on and so forth. But this is my main PSA to everybody. Make sure that your first deck, you're going to see a lot of decks as you're playing through standard, and you're going to go, man, I really think that's cool. Or, oh, I think that's super neat. I love how this deck is played. You can even go to those same people. They're usually YouTubers who will make, deck ideas, and they'll do deck profiles and playthroughs of custom decks that they have made for their format. So if you really want to try something that's new and not just some jank little, beginner deck, then you can always go that route instead. Obviously, whatever fits your fancy. Do not be afraid to net deck during your first few times, right? Net decking essentially is you just copying the same deck that you saw on a video or on a website and plopping it into Arena to be able to copy it with whatever wild cards you have available to you. So the reason I say that is important is because there's a lot of cards in Magic the Gathering. If you consider every set to have like maybe a minimum of 300 cards, you're looking at almost 1,500 cards in just a beginner standard, let alone if you were 8 sets in, right, to a standard. That is like, it's another 900 cards added into there. It's over 2,000 cards, all synergizing with one another in a completely different way. And that can be overwhelming. That can be a lot of stress. You're going to feel like you're not going to win a lot. You're going to feel bad when you lose. You're going to go, oh, God, it's these cards. Or like, you're going to cry that this card is super overpowered and there's nothing you can do to stop it. There are always answers to everything in Magic. Always. There's never been a deck that just trumped everything else in regards to pure power. There's never been a 100% win rate deck. So there will always be opportunity for you to actually make that move. But until then, you're going to want to start small. And that's why I suggest just upgrading one of these decks, finding the one that fits best for your playstyle, maybe even finding the one that is rated to be the best beginner deck, and then give that a small upgrade. It won't cost a whole lot of wild cards, so you won't be wasting a lot of wild cards in the beginning of your journey. And you'll be able to have a fairly competitive deck to at least get you to like platinum, maybe even gold. Getting to gold in the rank, yeah, I'm silver right now, so like, whatever. But getting gold in the ranked ladder, pretty easy. You can't ever go down a rank up until platinum. And when you hit platinum, you can go down to gold. But until then, you can't go from silver back down to bronze, and you can't go from gold back down to silver. So it's just trial and error, pushing forward, finding out what you're going against the most, and then countering that as you go about playing the game. You have people who play best of 3 in standard rank. You have people who play best of 1 in standard ranked. It's all depending on what you want to do. If you don't want to worry about sideboards or anything like that, best of 1 is going to be the best for you. If you want to do a more traditional ranked ladder, which is, best of 3, because if you're in a tournament at an LGS, it's going to be best of 3. You can go that route, but it's all up to you. But more importantly, it's just make sure to make good choices and don't just craft a whole bunch of crazy stuff because you're like, whoa, I really like that card. You should be smart about how you spend your wild cards, because there will come a point where you're going to have none of them. And unless, of course, you're going to pump money into Magic the Gathering Arena, you're going to have no wild cards, or at least not a lot of them. And then you're going to kick yourself in the pants and go, oh no, I wish I didn't spend all these wild cards on something that I thought was going to be good because I liked the card in general, but didn't realize it didn't have any synergies with anything else. So that's my 2 cents, and I really hope that it helped. I hope that it brought forward the thought process of making sure to make smart choices in the beginning of your journey and take your time. Okay, that's another thing. Take your time. Don't worry about winning so much in the beginning. Don't worry so much about making sure that you're winning every single time you play, because you're not, right? You have to go in and accept the fact that there are times in which you will be beaten, and that's fine, right? We all learn from our mistakes, whether or not be because you misplayed a card or you targeted the wrong creature with your destruction spell. Like, these are all things that they happen to me. They happen to pro players. This just occurs. So take your time, breathe, look through your cards, make sure your deck synergizes well with itself, and more importantly, just play, right? This isn't like a tournament where you only get to go and, after 3 losses, you get dropped from the tournament. You can just keep playing over and over and over again and play against so many different decks that'll really give you a good idea of how your deck fares against others. So thank you all so much for watching. I do really appreciate your support. Let me know if any of you guys are Magic the Gathering Arena, pro players, or if some of you just have more advice than I have given in this video. Make sure to leave it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to continue making beginner content for Arena, so that way I can kind of show everybody how to best utilize their wild cards, how to best utilize their time, and how to not rage quit within their first week of playing, because I seem to see that a lot these days, and I really don't want people to get confused and frustrated, because it's just it's a labor of love. That's what Magic the Gathering is. So while you're down there leaving that comment, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already, and you can check out the description. We also have a Patreon down below. You can go ahead and join any of the tiers we have there. I have a fantastic little gemstone tier that I actually open up packs for you and then send them to you. So if that's anything that interests you, feel free to check it out. You don't have to subscribe at a gemstone tier. You can subscribe at our lowest supporter tier as well, and I'm always grateful. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.